My son Eric had been managing my finances for 3 years after my stroke. I found out he transferred $847,000 from my savings to his account while I was recovering. When I confronted him at his apartment, he said, "Face it, Dad, you're not well enough to handle money anymore." I smiled and said in my mind, "Good thing I kept the original documents." He didn't know I still owned the offshore account with $2.3 million. But before we get to that, do us one quick favor. Subscribe. A lot of people watch without ever doing it, but it costs you nothing and it means everything to us. Hit the like button while you're at it and drop your thoughts in the comments after listening. My name is Thomas Hart, and this is the story of how I watched my own son steal from me, and why I let him believe he had won for 3 long years. I was 52 when I had the stroke. It came out of nowhere on a Tuesday morning in March. One minute I was reading the financial section of the paper at the kitchen table. The next minute I was on the floor with my daughter kneeling over me, shouting my name. She had come over to borrow my power tools for a home project. If she had come 10 minutes later, I would have been alone. The doctors told me later that I was lucky. I did not feel lucky. I felt like my own body had betrayed me. The stroke affected my left side. It took away some of my speech. It made my hands shake when I tried to write. I spent 4 weeks in the hospital and another 2 months in a rehabilitation center. During that time, my son Eric came to visit every Sunday. He would sit in the plastic chair next to my bed. He would talk about his job. He would talk about his girlfriend. He never asked how I was feeling. He never asked about the business. He just talked. I did not think anything of it at the time. I was focused on recovery. I was focused on learning to walk again without stumbling. I was focused on getting the words back when they got stuck in my throat. Eric was 32 years old. He had a good job. He had his own apartment. He did not need me to manage his life anymore. That was what I told myself. My daughter Jennifer was different. She came every day. She brought me soups from the diner down the street. She brought me clean socks from home. She sat with me during the long physical therapy sessions, even when I told her she did not have to stay. She never complained about the driving. She never complained about the smell of the rehabilitation center. She just showed up. Jennifer was 36. She had been married for 8 years to a man named Daniel. Daniel worked in real estate. He wore suits that cost more than my first car. He had a way of looking at you like he was calculating your worth. I never liked him, but Jennifer loved him. That was what mattered. When I came home from the rehabilitation center, Jennifer moved in with me for 3 weeks. She slept in the guest room. She made sure I took my medication at the right times. She drove me to my doctor's appointments. She helped me learn to use the computer again because my hand was still too shaky for paper. She never once made me feel like a burden. I owed her everything. Eric visited on the 3rd Sunday after I came home. He brought flowers. They were store-bought, the kind that came in a plastic sleeve with a ribbon. He set them on the kitchen counter without taking them out of the wrapper. He sat on the couch and asked if I was feeling better. I said I was getting there. He nodded. Then he dropped the bomb. "Dad, I've been thinking," he said. "You've got a lot on your plate right now. The business, the house, the investments. Maybe I should help you out for a while, take some of the weight off your shoulders." I looked at him. I did not say anything. I waited. "I mean, you're still recovering," he continued. "It might be too much for you. The doctors said stress is bad for stroke patients. Maybe I could handle the finances, just for a little while, just until you get back on your feet." I wanted to say no. Something in his tone bothered me. It was not the offer to help. It was the way he phrased it, like I was an old man who could not take care of himself, like I was already past my prime. But Jennifer was in the kitchen loading the dishwasher. She did not hear the tone. She only heard the words. "That's a great idea, Eric," she said. "Dad, it would really help if someone handled the bills for a while. You shouldn't be worrying about that stuff right now." I looked at my son. I looked at my daughter. I saw the sincerity in Jennifer's eyes. I saw something else in Eric's, something I did not like, but I was tired. The medications made me tired. The therapy made me tired. The thought of fighting made me tired. "Okay," I said, "just for a little while." Eric smiled. It did not reach his eyes. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 months later. I was going through my mail. Most of it was bills that Eric handled, but there was a statement from my savings account. I did not recognize the address on the envelope. It was not the bank I usually used. I opened it anyway. The balance was wrong. The number on the statement was much lower than it should have been. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time looking at that piece of paper. I did the math in my head. I added up the deposits I remembered. I subtracted the withdrawals. The numbers did not work. Over $100,000 was missing. I called Eric that evening. He did not answer his phone. He called me back 2 hours later. "Hey Dad, what's up?" he said. I told him about the statement. I told him about the missing money. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Oh, that," he said. "I moved some of your money to a different account. It's getting better interest rates. I was going to tell you, but I wanted to make sure it was set up first. Don't worry about it. It's safe." "How much did you move?" I asked. "About 100,000, he said. "Maybe 120. I'll get you the exact number next time I come over." Next time he came over was 3 weeks later. He forgot to bring the paperwork. He forgot to bring the account information. He said he would email it to me instead. He never did. I waited, I watched, I said nothing. The second sign came 5 months after that. Jennifer came over for Sunday dinner. We were sitting at the table eating pot roast when she mentioned something about Eric's new car. "Did you see his BMW?" she asked. "It's a 7 Series. I didn't know those were so expensive." I had not seen the car. Eric had not mentioned it, but I knew the price tag. I knew because I had been looking at car websites for months. I was thinking about trading in my sedan after I got my license back. The 7 Series started at over $100,000. "Where did he get the money for that?" I asked. Jennifer shrugged. "He said he got a bonus at work, a big one." I did not say anything. I knew Eric's job. I knew his salary. Bonuses at his company were good, but not that good. Not enough for a 7 Series. The third sign was the apartment. Eric had been living in the same one-bedroom place for 6 years. It was in a decent neighborhood. It was nothing special. But one day I drove past a new complex on the east side of town. It was the kind of place with a doorman and a pool. The kind of place that charged $4,000 a month for a studio. I saw Eric's car in the parking lot. I did not mention it to anyone. I just drove home. I sat in my living room. I looked at the walls. I looked at the photographs on the mantle. Eric as a high school graduate. Eric with his college diploma. Eric at his first job. I had paid for that education. I had paid for that first apartment. I had paid for everything. I picked up the phone. I made a call to my attorney. I asked him a few questions. I did not tell him why. I just needed to know what Eric had access to. I needed to know what I had signed. The answer was everything. The pieces came together slowly. I did not want to see them. I wanted to believe that my son was helping me. I wanted to believe that the money was just being moved around. I wanted to believe that the BMW and the apartment were just coincidences, but the numbers kept getting worse. I started paying attention to the details. I started keeping my own records. I wrote down every phone call. I wrote down every visit. I wrote down every time Eric changed the subject when I asked about the finances. I wrote down every excuse. The stroke had taken some things from me. It had taken my speed. It had taken my steadiness. But it had not taken my mind. I could still think. I could still observe. I could still remember. The real confirmation came on a Tuesday afternoon in November. I was walking through the mall near my house. I needed to get out of the house. I needed to move my legs. The therapy had taught me to walk. Now I just needed to do it. I saw Eric in the food court. He was sitting at a table with Daniel. They were laughing. They had plastic trays in front of them with Chinese food. I watched Eric reach into his pocket and pull out a wallet. It was brown leather. I recognized it. I had given it to him for Christmas 2 years ago, but that was not what made me stop. Eric pulled out a credit card. It was black. It had my name on it. I did not own a black card. I had never owned a black card, but the name printed on that card was mine. I walked up to the table. I stood there for a long moment. Neither of them noticed me. They were too busy laughing about something. Finally, Eric looked up. "Dad," he said, "what are you doing here?" I pointed at the card. "Where did you get that?" Eric's face changed. The smile faded. He looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at me. "It's one of your old cards," Eric said. "I must have picked it up by mistake. I'll give it back." "Liar," I said. The word came out louder than I meant it to. People at nearby tables turned to look. Eric stood up. He grabbed my arm. He steered me away from the food court. We ended up in a hallway near the restrooms. "Dad, you need to calm down," he said. "You're not supposed to get stressed," the doctor said. "Don't talk to me about the doctor," I said. "Don't talk to me about stress. Where is my money, Eric?" He did not answer. He looked at the floor. He looked at the ceiling. He looked anywhere but at me. "How much?" I asked again. 800,000, he finally said. I felt something cold in my chest. Not anger, not yet, something colder. "That's not possible," I said. "I did not have that much in my accounts." "You had more than you thought," he said. "The house, the business, the investments. You weren't keeping good records, Dad. Someone had to manage it. Someone had to make the hard decisions." I stared at him. My own son. My only son. The boy I had taught to ride a bike. The boy I had driven to every baseball game. The boy who used to sit on my lap and ask me questions about everything. "You stole from me," I said. "I saved you," he said. "You would have spent it all. You're not well, Dad. You're not well enough to handle money anymore." I confronted him at his apartment the following Saturday. I drove myself. The doctors had cleared me to drive 2 months ago. I had not told Eric about that. I had not told him a lot of things. His new apartment was on the 14th floor. It had floor-to-ceiling windows. It had furniture that cost more than my first car. It had a view of the entire city. I sat in the leather chair across from him. I did not accept his offer of a drink. I did not take off my coat. "You came all the way up here just to yell at me," Eric said. He was standing by the window. His tone was casual, almost bored. He had done this before. He knew I would not do anything. "I'm not going to yell," I said. Eric laughed. "That's a first." I ignored that. "I want my money back." "Your money," he said. "Your money is gone, Dad. I invested it. Some of it went well. Some of it didn't. That's how investments work. You should know that. You taught me that." "Where is it?" I asked. Eric turned around. He looked at me. He smiled. It was the smile of a man who had won. "Face it, Dad," he said. "You're not well enough to handle money anymore. It's better this way. I'm taking care of you. I'm taking care of everything. You just need to accept it." I smiled back at him. I did not say what I was thinking. I did not tell him about the documents I had found. I did not tell him about the offshore account. I did not tell him about the property. "Good thing I kept the original documents," I said instead. He did not hear the meaning in my words. He did not hear the warning. "What documents?" he asked. I stood up. I walked toward the door. I put my hand on the knob. "I'll see you at the wedding," I said. The wedding was in 6 months. Daniel and Jennifer had been planning it for a long time. They had chosen a venue on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. They had hired a catering company that charged $200 a plate. They had sent invitations to 300 people. Eric was going to be the best man. He had told me this with a smile. He had told me that he was giving a speech. He had asked if I was going to say anything. I said I would see. In the months between the confrontation and the wedding, I did nothing visible. I continued my recovery. I went to therapy twice a week. I walked around my neighborhood every morning. I sat on my porch every evening and watched the sun go down. I became invisible. But I was not doing nothing. I met with my attorney. I met with my accountant. I met with a private investigator. I learned things that Eric did not know I could learn. The offshore account had been set up 20 years ago. It had been for tax purposes. I had forgotten about it until the night after I confronted Eric. I had been going through old files. I had found the paperwork in a locked box in my closet. The account still existed. It still had money in it. Not 2.3 million, more than that. The interest had added up over the years. Eric did not know about the account. He did not know about the property. He did not know that I had been smarter than him. The week before the wedding, I made a phone call. I called the venue. I called the catering company. I called the photographer. I made a few changes to the arrangements. No one questioned me. The credit card I gave them was the same one Eric had used for everything else. I knew he had not changed the billing address. I knew he had not canceled the card. I knew he was still using it for his own expenses. The wedding day was beautiful. The sun was shining. The ocean was calm. The cliffs were covered with wildflowers. Jennifer looked like a princess in her dress. Daniel looked like a prince in his suit. They stood at the altar repeating their vows. I sat in the front row. Eric stood next to the groom. I watched my daughter say words she believed. I watched my son-in-law promise things he would not keep. I watched my son smile at the guests. He was so confident. He was so sure of himself. The reception was held in a white tent on the lawn. There were round tables with white cloths. There were flower arrangements that cost more than my monthly medication. There was an open bar. There was a 4-piece band playing soft jazz. I sat at the head table. Jennifer sat to my left. Daniel sat to my right. Eric was across from me. He was drinking champagne. He was laughing with the other groomsmen. He had never looked so happy. The food was served. The toasts were made. Eric stood up and gave his speech. He talked about Daniel like he was a brother. He talked about Jennifer like she was a sister. He talked about family like it meant something. I did not clap. When the speech was over, Jennifer leaned over to me. She asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. I said I had something I wanted to say. She looked surprised. I had not told her I was going to speak. I stood up. The room got quiet. The band stopped playing. Everyone turned to look at me. I'd like to say a few words, I said. I cleared my throat. I looked out at the crowd. I looked at my son. First, I want to congratulate Jennifer and Daniel. I want to wish them a long and happy marriage. The crowd applauded. Jennifer smiled. Daniel nodded. Second, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know this has been a beautiful day. I know a lot of work went into it. More applause. Eric was watching me. His eyes had narrowed. Third, I have an announcement to make. I paused. I let the silence stretch. I looked at Eric. I looked at the room. As of this morning, I am no longer the owner of the Hart family property. The room went completely quiet. Eric sat up straighter. Jennifer grabbed my arm. What? She said. The property, I said, the business, the house. I sold it all last week. I watched Eric's face go pale. I watched his hands start to shake. I watched him open his mouth but no sound come out. I turned to Jennifer. I turned to Daniel. I'm sorry, I said. I know this is a surprise, but I wanted you to hear it from me first. Jennifer was crying. Daniel was yelling. The room was chaos, but I did not hear any of it. I was watching Eric. He stood up. He knocked over his glass of champagne. He walked toward me. His face was red. His eyes were wild. You can't do that, he said. You can't sell it. It's mine. I took it. It's mine. I looked at him. I smiled. No, I said, it was never yours. The room went silent again. Everyone was watching. The father and the son, the thief and the victim. I transferred everything to Jennifer this morning, I said. The house, the business, the savings, everything. Eric stared at me. He did not understand. He could not process what I was saying. I kept the offshore account, I said. You never found that, did you? 2.3 million in an account you didn't know about. The color drained from Eric's face completely. He sat down heavily in his chair. The champagne was spreading across the white tablecloth like blood. I gave Jennifer the property, I continued. She is going to run the business. She is going to keep the house. She is going to take care of everything you tried to take. Jennifer was still crying, but she was not crying from sadness. She was crying from relief. She was crying because she finally understood. I looked at the crowd. I looked at the faces watching me. I'm sorry to ruin the reception, I said, but I thought you should all know. Money is not family. Taking is not loving. I taught my son that lesson. I only hope he learns it. I sat down. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then Jennifer threw her arms around me. She held on tight. She did not let go. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for trusting me. I patted her back. I did not look at Eric. I did not need to. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. Daniel left the reception early. He did not speak to anyone. He took Jennifer with him. They went on their honeymoon to Greece. They did not call. They did not write. Eric did not come to the reception after that night. I heard he moved out of his apartment. I heard he sold the BMW. I heard he got a smaller apartment on the other side of town. I heard he was working at a job that paid $40,000 a year. I heard he was not doing well. I did not feel satisfaction. I did not feel joy. I felt something else, something quieter, something more complicated. My daughter called me every Sunday after that. She came over for dinner every other week. She helped me with my therapy exercises. She made sure I took my medication. She treated me like a father, the way a daughter should treat a father. I sold the offshore account 6 months after the wedding. I used the money to travel. I went to Italy. I went to Japan. I went to places I had always wanted to see. I sent Jennifer postcards from every city. I came home tired and happy. I came home to a daughter who loved me. Eric never called. Eric never wrote. Eric never came to visit. I heard he was struggling. I heard he had asked Jennifer for money. She turned him down. She turned him down every time. This is the part of the story where people expect me to feel good. They expect me to feel like I won. They expect me to feel like I got revenge. But that is not how I feel. I feel tired. I feel sad. I feel like something was taken from me that I will never get back. My son was not a bad person. He was lost. He was confused. He made choices he should not have made. I took everything from him. I destroyed his life. I do not know if that was the right thing to do. I do not know if there was a right thing to do. Jennifer asked me once if I regretted it. I sat on my porch and thought about it for a long time. The sun was going down. The sky was orange and pink. The birds were singing in the trees. No, I said, I don't regret it. I would do it again. Why, she asked. Because I had to protect myself, I said. I had to protect what I built. I had to protect you. She nodded. She did not say anything else. She just sat with me on the porch and watched the sun go down. That was 3 years ago. I am 61 years old now. I walk with a cane. My hand still shakes sometimes, but my mind is sharp. My eyes are clear. I built a lot in my life. I lost a lot in my life, but I am still here. Eric is doing better now. He got a new job. He married a woman who does not know anything about my money. They have a small apartment. They have a baby on the way. He came to see me last month. He sat on my porch. He did not apologize. He did not ask for forgiveness. He just sat there. Are you okay? I asked. I'm getting there, he said. We sat in silence for a while. The sun was going down. The birds were singing. I made peace with what happened, I said. I don't hate you. I never hated you. I know, he said. We said good night. He got in his car. He drove away. I watched his tail lights disappear around the corner. If this story resonated with you, join our channel by liking and subscribing for more real, raw, and family-centered stories. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.